What are you doing in your lifestyle that could be contributing towards your aging and making you age faster? So the first thing I'm going to talk about is one that you may think is really obvious: sun. How much are you out and about, and are you really being diligent enough with your sunscreen? So many people I talk to tell me that their makeup has SPF in it, or that they are using an SPF moisturizer, or it's not that sunny so they didn't need it, or they put it on if they go out. You should be wearing a sunscreen, a dedicated sunscreen with an SPF of at least 30 and broad spectrum UVA protection every single day. Unless it's dark enough that you don't even need a torch to see, that sunscreen should be on your skin, and it should be being reapplied regularly throughout that day. Finding a sunscreen like a powder or a mist that you can use to top up through the daytime is really important if you want to keep that skin protected. And remember, if you're going on holiday, live your life outside, enjoy being outside, but make sure that you have a more protective sunscreen and that you're practicing sun avoidance during the peak hours of the day. Sleep, another big one. With modern lifestyles, so many of us are sleep depriving ourselves, but actually while you sleep is the only time your skin has to regenerate and heal itself and to clear out the cells that aren't quite working properly anymore. So sleep is really crucial, and boundarying at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night, that's most people's magic number. You may convince yourself that you don't need as much and that you're fine, but actually there's a tiny percentage of people who really genuinely need less sleep than that. Practicing good sleep hygiene, making sure you're going to bed at a similar time every night, making sure that you do a digital detox before bed, all of these things to help preserve your sleep quality will really stand your skin in good stead as well. Diet. Here's a big one. Be it that you're eating a lot of inflammatory processed food, which can contribute towards breakouts or sensitivity, or that you're finding that you're eating a lot of sugar. Sugar's a big one in our diets. Again, it's inflammatory, but it also binds to the skin's proteins and makes them more brittle, meaning you break down collagen and elastin more rapidly than if you had a less sugary diet. And by sugars, I also mean refined carbohydrates. It's not just that packet of Haribo in the cupboard. Or even for many people, gluten and dairy can have an impact on their skin, and you will definitely find alcohol can as well. And they all have slightly different signs that show up on the skin, but all of them in their different ways will contribute towards skin aging if you are sensitive to them. So things like sugar, I would say for everyone, is one to be thinking about. Gluten and dairy doesn't affect everyone, but for some people, if you have an immunogenic response to them, it can impact how your skin behaves and ages. Other things that you might be doing, like using sunbeds. And again, I'm still constantly shocked by how many people tell me that they only have a few sunbeds before they go on holiday just so they don't burn. And they genuinely believe they're doing a good thing for the skin. But sunbeds have a very low percentage of UVB, which is emitted, and a very high percentage of UVA. So that UVA is the one responsible for causing skin cancers and for accelerating skin aging. So you're going in there with a UV index that is as hot as midday in the most tropical country, and you're exposing yourself to a light that isn't like natural sunlight but is very high in those dangerous UVA rays. So it's really not something that I would be recommending. It's something that if you have a skin condition like psoriasis and you say, oh, but it helps my psoriasis, actually the type of phototherapy you should be using for psoriasis is predominantly UVB and is something you can access through your dermatologist. And if you think, oh, I'm giving myself vitamin D by having a few sunbeds, no, you're not. Vitamin D is stimulated, the production of it is stimulated in the skin by UVB radiation, which again is as good as absent in a lot of sunbeds. So please, for me, this is an absolute no, and that's why they've been outlawed in Australia, and I hope the UK follows suit in due course. In terms of UV, we can also think about gel nail lamps, bearing in mind that many of us, me included, regularly have gel nails applied. But if you're putting your hand under that, yes, it's an LED lamp nowadays, but that LED lamp is still emitting light in the UV spectrum. So you need to be thinking about protecting your hands while you're doing that. Personally, I wear a pair of gloves by a brand called Safe. They're a UV protection factor of 50 plus. They're little fingerless gloves, very easy to get on and off. And I wear those when I have my gel manicures, but I've also always applied sunscreen to my hands beforehand. So it's really important to think about protecting it in that way. Sleeping position is another one that can come into the equation, and it's a really tricky one because actually in an ideal world you need to learn to sleep in the right position when you're young before you start to lose collagen, because even me, and I have trained myself to predominantly back sleep, I have a few creases mainly around my décolletage from the positions I've slept in over the years. So when you sleep on your side, especially if you have a bigger bust, you'll find that your skin is creasing and that you're holding those creases, and you might even find that some of those lines start to appear on your face, and we call them sleep lines. They often run, for example, along the sides of the eye, but in the opposite direction to your smile lines. So really thinking about the position you sleep in, maybe a silk pillowcase, and trying to teach yourself to back sleep can be really helpful. There are also special pillows that can help to support your head and face if you are sleeping in other positions. Another one I'm going to talk about is device use, because not only do they emit a lot of blue light, which can accelerate aging, it travels quite deep and is responsible for quite a lot of pigment formation, but it also is a postural thing. We use so many laptops these days and phones that we're looking down a lot, and that can really contribute again to the formation of horizontal necklines. We call them necklace lines or tech neck. And so thinking about when you have your device, keeping your head a bit more upright and thinking a little bit more about your head position will really help those delicate skin cells to age better. Smoking. Most of us nowadays know, even if we don't want to acknowledge, how bad smoking is for us, and we know that it's full of carcinogens which can lead to all sorts of cancers, but it also contains nicotine, and so many people have as an alternative gone on to vaping, believing it's healthier, but actually that nicotine is responsible for decreasing microcirculation to the skin, so it means you get less micronutrients and less oxygen in the skin, and that your skin will age quicker. So it's not just smoking but vaping as well that's something you need to think very carefully about. Another one I'm super passionate about is stress management. Bear in mind, most of us these days seem to pack more into our lives than ever before. Gone are the days where you wrote someone a letter and it would arrive 2 days later, and then you'd write your reply over the next week and send it back, and everything happened a little bit more slowly. We're now in these lifestyles of instant feedback, instant gratification, and feeling like we're constantly on the go. And those levels of stress mean that your body's cortisol levels are raised, and cortisol is responsible for accelerating collagen breakdown in the skin. So stress is one of the worst things that we can do for our skin, and we notice in many of our patients that the first time they come to the clinic is after a period in their life where they've been exposed to a lot of stress, and so they've noticed a more rapid period of aging. So stress management techniques, and I'm a big fan of meditation, for example, or of getting out into nature, exercise as part of stress management. All of these things come into play, but whatever it is that works for you, incorporating something that helps you to stay more present in the moment and less worried about the past or the future will really help you to also manage your aging process. Now, healthy weight management is of course crucially important for so many health reasons, but if you find that you're losing large amounts of weight rapidly, after a certain point in time, you might find that that impacts your skin aging. So when you're young and you do that, your skin will rapidly catch up with you. But if you're a little bit older and your skin's a bit less elastic, it just won't rebound as well. And so you can be left with more laxity and emptiness in your face than if you'd lost weight at a younger age. Unfortunately, there's a lot that we can do about it. But my advice with anything weight loss related is to think of it as a lifestyle change and to look at doing things gradually over a period of time rather than doing it too quickly, to give your skin the maximum amount of time possible to get used to its new position. Makeup. There are some great makeup brands on the market nowadays which are a lot more skin friendly, but still, not taking your makeup off at night will age your skin more rapidly. Same goes with your sunscreen. If these things are sitting in your pores overnight when your skin's trying to rest and recover, they will contribute towards inflammation. So make sure you give your skin a really thorough cleanse at night, preferably a double cleanse using an oil-based cleanser or a cleansing balm, which can really help to lift those impurities out of the pores. Rubbing your eyes a lot is another common one. So be it through fatigue or through dry eye, or even just pulling around the delicate eye area because you're taking contact lenses out or putting them in, is something to be mindful of. Really think about not putting too much traction on this delicate skin around the eye, because it really is much thinner than the skin elsewhere on the face and can age much more rapidly. Those sorts of things can lead to more crepiness around the eye. Last but not least is not hydrating yourself well enough. Water is so important. We are more than 70% water in our bodies. And if you're not drinking enough, you're going to find that your body's homeostasis, its state of natural balance, becomes disrupted. Some people, strangely enough, start to hang on to more water, but with that means they also hang on to more toxins. And you might find you're going to the bathroom less, and that when you do go, your urine's more concentrated. But certainly what you'll find is if you're not hydrating yourself enough, you're either going to become dehydrated on a cellular level, or you're going to be hanging on to far more than your body really should be. And you're essentially putting your body through a stress response by thinking it's being deprived of something. So all of these are things to think about. None of us can live a perfect lifestyle. We're surrounded by so many different stresses and temptations these days, but being mindful and trying to mitigate as many of them as possible will really help you.
If this content has been useful for you, please give it a thumbs up or send me a little message below, and please do subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this.